This episode of Agreeable Disagreements is brought to you by Reynolds Wrap Aluminum Foil, the best aluminum foil to make your hats out of if you want to keep out all of the excess radiation and mind readers and keep in all the fresh paranoia. Reynolds Wrap. Get it now. Or have your thoughts listened to and controlled by the aliens, which are definitely out there. We did not plan a cold open.
We did not.
So this is the cold open.
I thought we were doing the cards for the cold open.
We're gonna do the cards. I don't know if that's a good cold open because, like, are we just gonna jump right in? We're not gonna introduce what we're doing.
I mean, I guess we could.
Yeah. Why don't you do the opening and what we're doing? We could do it, and I'll hand select some cards while we're doing that.
Okay. Well, welcome to Agreeable Disagreements. It is a podcast where two friends from differing ideologies come together and normally talk about politics. This is our 15th episode, and we kind of need a break from the politics. So this episode, we are actually going to do something different, and we're going to talk about conspiracy theories. Ones that we believe, ones we don't believe, we'll figure out where we stand.
And we're doing some trivia first. This is a card game that was sent to me by a family member. I can't remember who it was. I want to say it was my father-in-law. It might be my parents. Either way, there is a conspiracy theory game where it's like a watered-down version of Trivial Pursuit. And I've picked out a few of these cards, and I'm going to ask Andrew the question, give him the choices, and see if he can figure these out. Okay? And this game is awesome because they are amazing questions, but also they have a QR code on the card that you can scan so you can go get more information on the conspiracy theory.
So you can get, yeah, okay. That's dangerous.
Well, it doesn't take itself seriously. It's not like the conspiracies are real. It's less about that and more about, like, what do people believe about it.
But I feel like that's how it starts. Anyway, we can get more into that.
There are 5 categories. There's mythos, which is mostly like creatures and ghosts and paranormal stuff. There's aliens, tech, schemes, and random, which is kind of their catch-all. It doesn't fit into the other 4 categories.
Okay.
All right. But I say we do one of each. See if you can get one of each. Which one do you want to start with?
Oh gosh.
Mythos, aliens,
let's start
tech.
with mythos.
Mythos? Okay. The Alaskan Kushtaka, a monster known for preventing their victims' souls from reincarnating, can best be described as a what? A, an 8-legged bear. B, a shape-shifting otter. C, Arctic crocodile. Or D, a moose-headed man.
Ooh, okay. I feel like an 8-legged bear is just a tardigrade.
Are those 8-legged or 6-legged?
I think
I'm going to look that up.
Yeah, look that up.
Legs.
I'm tempted to say the crocodile because I feel like they
do have 8 legs.
Tardigrades do? Yeah.
They do have 8 legs. You were right.
But obviously, like, a much bigger version of that. But I feel like I'm going to go with the crocodile because I feel like with a lot of these, like, cryptid urban legends, a lot of them sprang from, like, having travelers come through. And I feel like, 1800s, people coming through who had, like, been to Florida and seen alligators, not crocodiles because they don't have crocodiles there, but they would have, like, brought up stories to Alaska, like maybe during the gold rush. So I'm going to say, I think it was C.
You're going with Arctic crocodile. Okay. Yeah. You're going with a snow reptile that these indigenous Alaskan peoples would have never seen in their lives.
Yeah, because the origin of it came from people who were traveling through.
I'm giving you a chance when I'm doing this, Andrew.
Okay, so you're this is clearly not the answer then. I just dropped my phone. What are the other options then, other than the eight-legged polar?
Eight-legged bear, shape-shifting otter, moose-headed man.
I'm going to go with shape-shifting otter.
That is correct. It is a shape-shifting otter.
I told you that's the one it was. How dare you doubt me?
First try, man. Good
First
job.
try. Got it.
That's something Alyssa and I do. So have you seen the Lego Batman movie? Or the Lego movie?
Like a whole... Oh, okay, yeah. I've seen Lego movie. I can't
remember which of the Lego movies it's in, but Batman throws a batarang and he misses. And so he throws a whole bunch of them until he gets it and goes, first try. And then he leaves.
Okay.
And so Alyssa and I, when we're in church, we'll try and open the hymnal up to the correct page. And even if we flip, we're like, first try.
Okay.
Anyway, all right. So that was Mythos. Mythos, yes. We got aliens, tech, schemes, and random.
Let's go with schemes.
All right. I'm gonna find a good schemes one real quick. I mean, they're all good, but I want to find like a real good one.
Yeah, give me one that's...
All right, I got it. Victims that claim to be, quote, targeted individuals accuse the government of doing what to them? A, attacking them with electronic weapons. B, auditing their taxes every year. C, tracking them with satellites. Or D, allowing aliens to use them for experimentation.
This one hits close to home.
Because you've been experimented on by aliens? Or
no, because I dated somebody who was very troubled.
Gotcha.
Who believed that they were being gang stalked and used this terminology.
Targeted
this person was
individual?
not being gang stalked. Gang stalking is not a thing. But I want to say A. Although I feel like it could be all of the above. Because I think this particular thing can be just general, like, psychosis.
It is it is attacking them with electronic weapons. That was a...
Yeah.
All right. Okay. All right. I see you, Mr. Schmunk.
No, I mean, say what you want about my dating life, but it apparently came in handy in this time.
Yeah. Who would have thought? All right. Okay. We did aliens. Sorry, we've done schemes and we've done mythos.
Okay.
We got tech, aliens, and random.
So I'm 1 for 2 right now.
Yeah, we'll give you half credit on the first one.
Okay. I feel like that's generous. I don't think I should have gotten that one.
All right. Then we won't. 1 for 2. 1 for 2.
Okay.
All right. What do you want? You got aliens, tech, random.
I feel like I'm going to do better on aliens. So I want to finish on a strong note. So let's do tech first.
Tech first. All right. Oh, this is a good one. But this one's also good. We're going to do 2 tech ones because I found 2 of them in a row that are fantastic. All right.
Okay.
What popular gaming app is used by the government to get real-time footage of your surroundings? A, Candy Crush. B, Words with Friends. C, Homescapes. Or D, Pokemon Go.
Pokemon Go.
Yeah,
it's the only one that uses a camera.
That is correct, sir. You are correct.
But if you think that all of the others aren't collecting all of your data, then you're a fool.
I know. I this is something I get into with a couple of friends and my wife all the time, like whether or not, and my brother, whether or not like my digital footprint is being used. Should I care about it? And like on one hand,
Oh, it is, but it doesn't matter.
yeah, it's like
you can't exist.
I should probably care about it, but at the same time, like,
There's
what are they
nothing
gonna do?
you can do. There's nothing you can do about it. It's happening to everybody. It's
right.
I mean, as long as you don't have anything that you need found, you need to keep secret.
Well, and also, like, what are they going to find on me?
Exactly.
I guess, I mean, they could find my nudes. Which,
I mean, I don't know. I've done a lot of digging, and so far I've come up empty-handed. So,
you've been searching for
me,
you've been searching for my noodle recipe as well?
I'm not going to say yes or no. I've been searching for both your recipe and you know what? We can skip past
We're just going to move on. All right, here's the other tech one that I liked. Name the failed CIA project that attempted to turn ordinary cats into high-tech spies using brain chimp implants.
I know this one.
Okay, here are your options. Agent Feline, Cyber Cat, Tiger Scout, and Acoustic Kitty.
I think it was Acoustic Kitty.
It was Acoustic Kitty.
Okay, yeah.
Good job.
I'm so glad I got that one.
All right, you are 3 for
4.
3 for 4 because we did 2
I know
tech
my
ones.
conspiracy theories.
Yeah, man, look at you.
I mean, honestly, like
being a wacko.
Acoustic Kitty is such a strong name, though.
Yeah, I'm surprised. I haven't known any of these so far. These have all been new to me.
You gotta expand your horizons.
No. All right, we got aliens and random.
Wait, are we doing both?
Yeah. Which one do you want first?
Let's do aliens.
You want to do aliens first? Okay.
Yeah, we'll end on a wild card.
Oh my gosh, I just came across the best random one. Okay, I'm gonna hold that. No, not gonna do that one. Try to do one that's like a little outrageous.
Yeah, give me a hard one. I feel like.
How many pages of UFO documentation were released by the UK Ministry of Defence in 2019? 1,000, 12,000, 45,000, or 60,000? They're all in the thousands.
Wow. Okay, I'm gonna say 12,000.
Oh, you
is it
Sunshine Child?
Is it 60,000?
60,000. And I think that is true. I think that is an actual thing. But you got to remember, UFO doesn't necessarily mean aliens. It's just anything they don't see. They don't know.
We don't know what it is. And so, okay.
All right, here, I got another one for you on aliens. So you're 3 for 5. Where do our reptilian overlords come from? I love just the audacity of this one.
I do know this one.
Oh, do you need the question? Do you need the answers, or can you give it to me?
I do need the answers, but I know that I will know it when I hear it.
Andromeda?
It's not that. Ooh, actually, okay, no, keep.
The Draconian Galaxy.
It's not that one.
The Milky Way.
It's not that one.
Triangulum.
It's Andromeda.
It's the Draconian Galaxy.
No, it's not. It's not.
It is.
It's not. It's
the
not.
The card says it is. The card says it is.
Hillary Clinton is from Andromeda. The Draconian Galaxy, that's such a dumb name.
I know, but I love the audacity of that question, though. There is no... If we had reptilian overlords...
It just assumes that we already have alien... Yeah.
And then everyone's on board with it. It's great. Okay, here's your random one. Pepsi and Nestle were among the companies accused of using what as a flavor enhancer?
Cocaine.
Is it... No, it's not cocaine.
Oh.
Is it bleach, nitric acid, redstone, whatever that is, or cells from aborted babies?
I'm going to say cells from aborted babies because...
You would be right.
Yeah, because nitric acid, I'm pretty sure they are using that. I think that's just a preservative.
I wouldn't know.
I think it's nitrate or nitrite. One of them has, I think, an extra hydrogen, but it's not that one. Redstone, I think it's something they took from Minecraft. And people who are into conspiracy theories love to say that aborted babies are in stuff.
Okay, here's two more. You're 3 for 6 now, right?
Yeah.
4 for 6.
No, I think I got...
You got that one. Yeah, so you're 4 for 6.
Yeah, I'm 4 for 6. Quick fun fact about Coca-Cola, though, which is why I said cocaine, even though it was Pepsi. Coca-Cola is, to my knowledge, still the only company in the U.S. that's allowed to produce cocaine, because they still do use coca leaves in their production, but they take the cocaine out of it. And my mom used to work for the University of Santa Cruz, and her job was to buy the cocaine from Coca-Cola for them to use, like, in lab tests and stuff.
You are correct. I just Googled it to double check this, and it's, according to the DEA, the extract of coca leaves, a decocainized version, is manufactured in the United States and used in the flavoring for Coca-Cola.
Yep.
Wow. Okay, I got 2 more for you.
Okay.
See if if you get these 2, we'll say you win. If you get either of these 2.
Okay. And then that's the end of the episode. I won.
And that's the end of the episode. Go home. Yeah. No, I'm joking. Okay. The U.S. Commercial Space Launch Competitiveness Act, passed by Congress in 2015, secretly authorized what? The construction of an orbital battle station, development of alien-human hybrids for deep space operations, slave labor on Martian colonies, or government control of civilian firms like SpaceX and Virgin Galactic.
D. First of all, A is against international law. No country can put military installations into space, I think is what it says. So, like, we still have a space force, but we're explicitly prohibited from colonizing space.
I will trust you on that, but that is not the answer.
Oh, so D is not correct?
No, it is C. Supposedly, allegedly, the U.S. Commercial Space Launch Competitiveness Act, passed by Congress in 2015, authorized slave labor on Martian colonies.
Okay, how are we defining slave labor?
I don't know. It doesn't define it. All right, here's this one you should get. Who infiltrated Bohemian Grove and released footage of the secret ceremonies?
John Ronson and Alex Jones.
Oh, yep, there you go, Alex Jones. Yep. You didn't even need the answer for that one.
No, because I've talked about the book where John Ronson, the reporter who was accompanying Alex Jones.
I remember that.
I talked about his book Them, which, like, the second half of that book is all about this. But I believe it was in 1998, and John Ronson was on an assignment from the BBC to research the Bilderberg Group, which is this, like, shadowy mega organization that's supposedly in charge of everything in the world. And Bohemian Grove is a venue and an event that they're heavily involved in. And so as he's investigating the story on the Bilderberg Group for BBC, he runs into this somewhat known but kind of obscure radio DJ doing a show, I think out of Mount Carmel, where the Waco, I think it was Waco.
That happened in Waco.
Yeah, but Mount Carmel was, like, the name of their compound, I think.
Oh, okay.
Unless I'm totally conflating two different things.
You're right.
Okay, yeah. So Alex Jones was in the process of, like, trying to rebuild Mount Carmel. And John Ronson got in touch with him and was like, hey, like, I know you have a lot of theories about this. Let's infiltrate Bohemian Grove. He did not understand how crazy Alex Jones was at this point. But a few years later, he ended up being able to use that connection with Alex Jones to get onto the campaign bus of a presidential candidate, which actually turned into a book called The Elephant in the Room about Donald Trump's campaign.
Interesting. That is a crazy series of events.
Yes. Very good book. It's called Them. I think the full title is Them, Adventures with Extremists.
Yep.
Yeah.
That is the full title. Crazy. I'm going to have to look into that. That looks interesting.
Oh, it's such a good book. He's also the writer of Men Who Stare at Goats.
Oh, that's right. I remember you mentioning that. Did you know that 9 out of 10 politicians are actually lizard people wearing skin suits? Well, I sure didn't. Not until I spoke to The Crackhead Down the Street, now available to the public. Crackhead Down the Street is your best source for local, national, and international truth, and not just the factually sourced and vetted information big media wants you to know. Crackhead Down the Street gets all of his information from the truly reliable sources, including his fever dreams, the voices in his head, and God. That's right, God speaks the truth directly to the crackhead down the street, who definitely isn't experimenting with speedball too. With Crackhead Down the Street, you'll never be left to wonder what's going on with the shadow government. You'll always be up to date on the latest news on alien probe tech and how the stars are affecting the outcomes of horse races, and that's why he needs another $150. Don't be left in the dark. Talk to your local Crackhead Down the Street today. All right, so let's move on to the second part. In this one, we actually have prepared some details about some conspiracy theories, and we are going to discuss those conspiracy theories and then take a guess as to whether or not the other person actually believes in these conspiracy theories. Because I'll be honest, I think if you don't believe in at least 3 conspiracy theories, you're not living your life to the fullest. I would say at least 3. You got to believe in at least 3.
Okay.
Because some of them are real. Some of them end up being real.
Some of them are real. I don't know. I'm honestly, I don't know which one of us is more of a skeptic. I think it could go either way. I think both of us are pretty skeptical, and that in general, neither one of us believes in conspiracy theories.
Sure.
But I'm wondering which one of us is more like open to the possibilities, I guess.
I believe in some conspiracy theories facetiously. Not in the way that, or in the sense that I actually genuinely believe in them, so much as in I think it's hilarious to talk about them like I believe in them. There are a couple that I do believe in that I think would maybe shock you.
Okay. I hope we're going to get into those.
The Earth is flat. No.
It's not.
It's
very much not. They themselves have proved that it's not. Have you seen that video?
I love that. Yeah, I love that.
Oh, it's so good.
With everything they try, they cut a hole in the thing. We should be able to see his light from this distance.
They set up a series of cardboard cutouts, and if the Earth is flat, the laser should go through all of them, and then it doesn't. And he was like, "Well, this doesn't make sense. Hold your light up a little, hold your laser up a little further," and then they do see it, and they're like, "This makes no sense." Yes, it does.
It's
because there is a curvature to the Earth.
Or they have they put the spectrometer or something like that, the thing that's supposed to measure the spinning of the Earth in a contained beryllium or something like that.
A barometric thing, because they think that pressure has something to do with it.
Right. And it comes out exactly how it should come out if the Earth is a sphere spinning at the speed and rate in which it is.
Yeah. I had another ex-girlfriend. Her dad was a flat earther, and I was I never
how to pick him.
Yeah. but I never met him, but I was
Okay.
constantly fascinated to like hear what he had said and why he thought that. He also may have been there on January 6th. I never got a full answer on that, but
Wow.
yeah.
Interesting.
Anyway.
I would totally take advantage of that. I would totally be the guy who just waits until the family outing has been nice and enjoyed, and then being like,
"Oh, we didn't date
about
that
those ice
long."
walls. I've got an uncle like that who knows that he married in, and he knows that my grandfather is very like politically active and opinionated.
Mm-hmm.
Just be like, so Dave, what do you think about Hillary Clinton? And then he'll walk out of the room. He'll just slowly walk out, leaving the rest of us to the 2-hour spiel. It's great. I love it.
Throwing the fuel on the fire and then walking away.
Yeah, he doesn't do it so much anymore.
No, but I respect that. That's a...
Oh, it's great. I love it. All right. Why don't you go first? Because I asked you all the questions.
Okay. My first one... I'm trying to decide which one I want to start with. My first one is 9/11 was an inside job.
Okay.
Bush needed
Zeitgeist.
a pretext to continue his father's war, and he collaborated with the CIA to recruit this guy. I think his name is Tim. But we know him better as Osama bin Laden. But really, he's like a guy named Tim from, I think, Colorado. I'm actually going to try to look this up because I don't remember what it was. But he was a puppet, and 9/11 was an inside job.
Okay, I have a lot of things to say about this.
I think first you should guess what I think on this, because I think that if we're trying to, if the one person is trying to conceal it, like how they actually think, we're going to miss out on a lot of good dialogue.
Okay, sure. I really hope you don't. But I think you could. I don't think you do. I'm going to go with a no. Okay. You don't actually believe this one.
Final answer?
Final answer.
Of course I don't.
Okay, thank heavens.
It's okay. So I went to New York like a month ago, and I happened to actually go to like, this is already something I did not believe, but I was talking to, shout out to my friend Mark, who has talked a lot about this this conspiracy theory with me. And I went there with a lot of like drive to find out information to prove Mark wrong. Mm-hmm. And I actually ended up I didn't go to New York with this guy. It was just this Danish guy named Lasse that I met while I was in New York, and we ended up going to the 9/11 memorial, and he happens to be a civil engineer.
Sure.
Specifically like dealing with the same kinds of things that like the weight loads of different materials and everything.
Yeah.
And it's such an absurd belief that it was an inside job. And the rationalizations that people give are, I think, compelling. But when you actually look into the science of them, like the biggest one is that like the towers fell too fast for it to be anything other than a controlled explosion. But when you actually go through the math, it's like, no, it actually fell at about the rate of gravity, which is what you would expect,
right,
with a little bit of drag because of, all the collapsing material is falling on other material and
right,
everything. But as you like actual mathematicians have gone through it, and they said, no, this is about what we would expect from a collapsing building.
I mean, I understand where people come from with this, because the United States is so isolated and surrounded by allies that, I mean, the last time we had been attacked on American soil was the War of 1812, right? It had been almost
Not true.
200. Not true. When was the time before that?
Nope. I believe it was World War II up at Fort Stevens. The Japanese had a submarine that actually fired on Oregon.
What?
I believe so. And then you have Pearl Harbor, but that technically was a territory.
Yeah.
But
it wasn't a state.
Yeah, but I believe that the only other attack since the War of 1812 that we have had on U.S. Soil was during World War II from Japanese submarines firing on Oregon.
Yeah, and I just Googled it. It is true. That is crazy. Okay, I didn't know that.
Have you never been to like Fort Stevens and Fort Clatsop?
I probably have when I was a kid, but I don't remember.
Oh, it's so cool. You should definitely visit next time you're in Oregon or like Southern Washington. It's pretty close to like Fort Clatsop where Lewis and Clark.
I know I've been to Clatsop.
Ended, and yeah, it's super close to there.
Okay. I mean, I remember going to like some old batteries as a kid, but
that was probably it.
It could very well have been. It was probably, yeah.
Yeah.
Anyway, okay. So there have been very, very few attacks on United States soil.
Yes.
Territory included, then you could also include the Philippines and like the Spanish-American War. Like,
sure.
I mean, there were military bases on Pearl Harbor. That is a blatant oversight on my part to have forgotten that.
But that wasn't. I don't know if it was technically U.S. soil because it wasn't a state.
It's a military base, and they count They count military bases as United States soil. You can be born on a military base abroad.
Attacking American citizens.
Fair. Okay. So I will backtrack my remarks that I should have known better, being a history teacher. And I will say though, I guess the point I'm trying to get at is attacks on the United States are so rare. Yes. That for something so drastic to have happened, it makes sense to me that the first thing people go to is it had to be an inside job, because who could do this to us?
Yeah. It's a difficult thing to believe. I think you and I were both in third grade when it happened, but I don't know about you, but I remember a lot from that day. I remember a lot from like the days immediately after it. And it in some ways has kind of become like if I look back on it and I look at the ways that it changed, I'm like, oh yeah, well, that's just how things go. Like, taking your shoes off at the airport, or just, having to go, like not being able to go up to a gate at the airport. I'm old enough to remember when you didn't have to go up, or when you didn't have to go through security to go through a gate.
Yeah, I remember that too.
You could just, you go up there with your loved one and say goodbye, and then they got on their plane and it was all good. And then I think the first time I ever flew was February of 2002. So 5 months after 9/11, and it was, I've never seen the Portland airport more like backed up, and everywhere you had like full military presence, and it's while it's kind of the only America that I've really ever known, I can definitely understand the need for people who knew America before that to need to like figure out a justification for it, or like a deeper meaning, or a, more nefarious explanation for such a horrific event.
Sure. And I remember I was 8 years old playing with some Legos in the front room, watching SpongeBob, and my mom comes in on the phone like, why do I need to change the channel? And she turned it on. She switched the channel, And I mean, we were a 3-hour delay, so the whole attack had already, happened by then, but they were still playing footage. And she turned the channel on just in time to see them showing replay footage of the plane hitting. And me just being like, oh crap, something's real. I don't know what this is, but that's not good. But I mean, like, okay, there's no way that these conspiracy theories of like, I like people are like, jet fuel can't melt steel beams. No one said it did.
Yeah, it doesn't need to. It just needs it definitely. So like it can't melt steel beams, but it can weaken the structural integrity of it. And that's what happened, was that it compromised the integrity of the material, and then the weight of everything that the material was holding up caused the rest of it to collapse.
Well, and also fire will weaken things, and those building fires get extremely hot.
Yeah.
When I was in college, I did a study abroad, and we went to some castles, and people would say, and our instructors would say, oh yeah, this castle burned down and then was rebuilt. And I was like, sorry, it's my dog. I was like, how does a stone castle burn down?
Yeah.
And the explanation was, well, things that aren't stone catch on fire, and that heat melts the lead that was used to help maintain the structural integrity of the walls, and then it collapses. Yeah. And now I'm not going to say that this is what happened with 9/11 because I'm not an engineer, but that would make sense to me that the heat started from these fires damages the structural integrity enough that even though it's titanium or steel or whatever, that heat is going to cause some malleability and then cause it to fall down.
That's exactly what happened. I think the other thing that people point to was Building 7.
Yeah, the one next to it also collapsing. Like, it wasn't even hit. It's a shockwave. They were connected. One knocked the other over.
Well, no, it specifically fell because of the fire damage. And what people say is that because no building like that had ever collapsed because of fire damage, it's evidence that it was already like predestined to collapse because of, a planned demolition. But we since have witnessed other buildings like that have collapsed because of fire damage. There was one in Tehran, I believe, in 2007. But also just the fact that we don't have previous experience with this doesn't mean that it's necessarily untrue. We did not have previous experience with large airliners crashing into high-rise buildings. Hopefully we will not have any need for any more experience. But there's no good justification for, not justification, but there's no good argument to the structural integrity of the building that I've heard that has been convincing.
So I agree, and I'm not going to try and deny any of this. What I think is interesting, though, this is one of my favorite domino effects. So 9/11 happens.
I don't know if that's the right word to use in this specific case.
Anyway, okay. All right, so 9/11 happens. And while 9/11 is happening, there's a guy who is working for Nickelodeon in New York, in his high-rise office building, who sees the whole thing happen. And he gets traumatized by it. So he quits his job at Nickelodeon, and he has to go to a lot of therapy, and he comes out of it as following his passion of music and starts a band. And that band is My Chemical Romance.
Oh, yes. Okay, yeah. I've heard of Gerard Way.
Gerard Way, yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, I've actually heard about this.
Isn't that crazy?
Well, yeah, and he left his office and he went down to the plaza, I think, even if I remember correctly, But yeah, I did recently learn that My Chemical Romance was started as essentially a direct reaction to 9/11.
Yeah. So we got Teenagers, an amazing song. Welcome to the Black Parade.
I have never been
Thanks
a fan
to Al
of My Chemical
Qaeda.
Romance.
You?
They're a band. They're a band I can appreciate. They're just not for me.
Oh my goodness.
It's not like Creed or Nickelback where I heavily judge you if you like them. It's a band that I could never get into, and
it's an acquired taste.
Yeah. I don't even know if it's like that it's an acquired taste. I think it's just not my taste.
Okay, so let's move on in the interest of time.
Wait, can I say one more thing?
Sure.
The biggest reason why I don't believe in the 9/11 conspiracy theories is because everyone says that, Bush was looking for a pretext to start his war.
Mm-hmm.
Bush didn't need a pretext. We saw that when he started the war in Iraq. Because he had no pretext for that. He just invented one. So he didn't need to be behind some like horrific terrorist attack in order to justify his war. He was going to have his war anyway. So that's the main reason why I don't think there's any credence to the 9/11 conspiracy theories.
All right. I've got one for you now.
Okay.
Do you want my political one? Or do you want my aliens one?
Ooh, do I have a coin? I'm looking for a coin that I can flip. Let's go aliens.
Aliens have, on multiple occasions, and potentially regularly still do, make contact with government agencies, and it has happened and it is ongoing, and the public doesn't know about it because we probably couldn't handle it.
Okay. Just public agencies?
Like government agencies.
Right. Okay. Just government agencies, though. No one else.
Not necessarily just government agencies, but like the government agencies. Like I would
they have it. They're in touch.
Yeah, like the president. Maybe not the current president, but some presidents have spoken with extraterrestrials, or have received information, or some other government officials have spoken with them. Like there is irregular but ongoing communication with aliens.
Okay. Ooh, this is a tough one.
Yeah.
I'm going to say you don't believe it. I think that you think that there's some compelling evidence, but you just haven't found enough that you can quite get yourself there.
I do not believe this at all.
Okay, yeah. I was like,
but I want
okay.
so desperately for it to be true.
Yeah.
Like,
I mean, let me ask you this though.
Okay.
Do you think that if aliens had contacted our government,
sure,
do you think that they would tell anybody?
No.
Okay, I agree with that.
Yeah, I mean, so, and that's part of why I want it to be true, and I almost could.
It's so easy to believe, but like we were talking about the Fermi paradox, there's so much evidence or reasonable explanations as to why we haven't been contacted by aliens yet.
Right.
Well,
I think the most compelling evidence to say that we haven't been is that the amount of distance between us and the closest systems that could potentially support life is so far that you would have to travel faster than the speed of light to reach it within like 5 or 6 lifetimes.
Yeah.
And so
I think we talked earlier in an episode about it was our like Ancient Aliens episode. I think the only way that like interstellar galactic civilization travel can happen is only through like generational ships.
Probably. Yeah. I mean, the only other potential option would be to like utilize black holes and white holes or wormholes.
But that's still so like theoretical.
Yeah, exactly.
Like, we just kind of confirmed the existence of black holes a few years ago.
What I love, though, is we consistently get more and more evidence of like UFOs coming from like military sources.
Yeah.
But none of the people who talk about it are visibly sane.
Oh, yeah.
Like there's that guy, I can't remember, just recently, who was doing testimony before Congress saying, oh yeah, I've been told that we have this. And it was never I witnessed this. It was I was told this by people who witnessed it, or I know a guy who knows a guy who saw it. It's never I saw this with my own eyes. And it's never, that man looks like he has his life put together. It is never it is never good looking people as far as like professionalism goes.
Uncle Ted and who knows what he's been up to. But he's coming to Thanksgiving with a theory.
Yeah. Oh man.
No, I do like that one. I mean, really, any theory about like aliens having come into contact with us, I find very interesting, but also at the same time kind of exhausting. Like, I don't know. We talked about the pyramids, the Nazca lines. Like, yeah, the Nazca lines are weird, but also it's not out of the realm of possibility that a civilization that worships a deity that lives up in the sky would make pictures so that a deity that lives up in the sky could see it, you know?
Right. And, you know, like, I think when we look at things like pyramids or the Nazca lines and say, oh, there's no way people could make that, we are undervaluing human achievement and efforts.
100%.
Because, I mean, look at the Cathedral of Notre Dame. It took like a couple hundred years to build that cathedral.
Yeah. Well, look at, is it Gaudi's cathedral in Barcelona?
Oh, the one with all the spires?
Yeah, the one that like the Little Mermaid castles were based on. Like, it's still not finished, and it's been, 200 years. Maybe not 200, but...
It's the Cathedral of the Holy Cross in St. Eulalia, also known as the Barcelona Cathedral.
Yeah. Is it Gaudi, though, that designed it?
Okay. No, it's Josep Oriol Mestres y Esplugas y August Font y Carreras. I can't pronounce Spanish words because I can't roll my R's.
Yeah, no, that's fair.
Unless we're talking about two different cathedrals.
No, I think we're talking about the same one, but I do think that Gaudi...
Oh, no, there's two in Barcelona, and the one you're talking about that was... who the architect was Antoni Gaudi, is called the Sagrada Familia.
Yeah, Sagrada Familia, that's the one that I'm thinking of.
Yeah, so there are two different ones that are similar looking, but oh my gosh, that one is so much more interesting and intricate.
Yes, and it's not set to be finished for another... it's been under construction since 1882. Let me see when it's supposed to be finished being built. Oh,
2026.
Wow. 2026. I did not know that.
But some aspects of it may only be finished by 2040.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
I mean, just an incredible building. But how did we get onto that topic?
Human achievement.
Yes.
Yeah. Anyway, all right, give me your second one.
My second one is that the crack epidemic was intentionally introduced into primarily inner city populations by the Reagan administration in order to essentially to create the prison industrial complex, which itself is an extension of or a continuation of slavery. I know that was complicated.
Oh my gosh. Man, okay. Just because you are...
Basically, the Reagan administration introduced crack into black populations in order to subjugate black populations.
Just because I know how much you hate Reagan, I'm going to say you believe this one. I'm going to go for it. I'm going to say, yes, this is one you believe.
Final answer?
Yeah, final answer.
Yeah, of course I believe in it. Because it's true.
No, it's
That's
not.
Exactly. That is. I don't think. So here's the thing. I don't think that Reagan intentionally did it in order to subjugate black populations. I think it's an unfortunate an unfortunate consequence of the government providing these populations with crack, more of like kind of as an experiment. But because of that, I mean, I don't think it's a coincidence that Nancy Reagan, like her championing project was the war on drugs. And because of the war on drugs, we now see particularly black men being incarcerated at much higher rates than we have any other population for low-level drug crimes. And it's turned in, I mean, the prison industrial complex itself has turned into basically just a reimagining of it went from slavery to indentured servitude to Jim Crow to now prison industrial complex.
So I'm not going to deny that it disproportionately affected African American communities. It 100% did. And there's no denying that the crack epidemic did lead to disproportionate criminalizing and not criminalizing, but disproportionate charges and sentencing of African American communities. Like,
right,
that happened, and it is a well documented fact.
Right, like statistically we know that, we just don't know why it happened, which I think
but
is.
I don't know that it was introduced by the government, and that's where. And also the conspiracy theory that you're saying hinges on not it being an unfortunate consequence, but by it being an intentional choice of the consequence. Not
necessarily. I'm saying that it was, like, from an outside perspective, it was an unfortunate consequence. I don't know that was their primary goal, but I also don't think that the people that enacted this would also call it an unfortunate consequence. I think it would more be a desirable consequence for them. I think that they were trying to figure out a way to, much like the Tulsa massacre in was it the 1930s? Let me look this up real quick.
Okay, but is there evidence that the government introduced it?
I don't know. I haven't done a whole lot of research on this. I do think that there is. Let me just do a quick Google search of did the government introduce crack?
I mean, the government is saying no, that the government didn't do it.
Well,
but that's exactly what you would expect.
Let me hold on. I'm going to click on one Wikipedia article and whatever I get from that.
I'm looking at it too. So man, my dogs are shaking their heads a lot. It's hot up here, so they're sweating. All right, so I'm looking at like the CIA government. So it looks like the CIA government, the CIA was somehow involed.
Yes. But was that them
it's
just
allegedly. It hasn't been proven.
Was it them actually being? I mean, I think it's what's been proven is that the CIA was involved somehow. Whether or not they actually like instigated it and were behind it, that's
so the CIA was involved in cocaine trafficking during the Nicaraguan Civil War in Nicaragua.
You would imagine that they would be. I mean, like they would just have undercover agents and stuff like that. Counts as being. I mean, that's just basic. I think drug enforcement behavior.
Yeah, but there's a difference between being involved and directly introducing,
Yes. Yeah, no, that's what I'm saying. The evidence is that there was some involvement from law enforcement, from the government. But the question of whether or not they were the masterminds behind it, that we don't know.
I'm going to say no.
That it did happen.
I'm going to say it didn't.
Okay.
Not directly. I mean, I could see some CIA people from the Nicaraguan Civil War coming back and being like, you got to try this stuff, man. Because we know that it came through it came from Colombia through the Bahamas into Miami. Sure. And we know that with the supply of cocaine
for a long time before that.
Right. And cocaine was I'm just going to read it straight from the Wikipedia article. Soon there was a huge glut of cocaine powder in these islands, which caused the price to drop by as much as 80%. Faced with dropping prices for their illegal product, drug dealers made a decision to convert the powder to crack, a solid smokable form of cocaine that could be sold in smaller quantities to more people. It was cheap, simple to produce, ready to use, and highly profitable for dealers to develop. So that, to me, doesn't necessarily scream conspiracy theory so much as it's a cheap drug, and drugs had been talked about like...
But why was nobody making crack before that? Because all you do is take your cocaine and cook it with, I think it's baking soda.
You talking from experience here?
No, but that's but for some reason I do know that that's essentially the process of how you make freebase form.
I mean, I think
cocaine.
they were,
and it makes it. But you didn't see anyone doing it up until the 80s when Reagan came into his presidency.
Okay, so to be fair, Reagan was president. Let's see, was he in 78? His first term?
Ooh, that's a good question. Yeah, I think so.
No, it was 81. So, okay, so officially,
Reagan
really took office in 1981. All right, so that's, he won the 1980 election, takes office in 1981. The crack epidemic starts in 1981. That's when it first starts appearing in LA, Oakland, New York. But it was already around in the 1980s, or it was already around in 1980. So here's the thing. My take, based on the limited reading I've done of this, my take would be that crack was already around, but it wasn't effective to sell because you could get a significantly higher profit from cocaine. And so once cocaine, the supply
Not necessarily
increases.
True. One thing I'm reading is that the quality of the of crack was actually higher than the quality of cocaine that you would be getting. That
probably develops over time, but what I'm saying is...
No, that's initially.
Oh, okay. Well, what I'm saying is, though, that initially, people are used to cocaine. It's the rich people drug. It's the rock stars drug. Everybody who was interested in drugs was interested in doing the rich people drugs. Just like everybody today wants an iPhone because that's the rich people phone kind of a thing.
Oh, everyone was doing cocaine in the 80s.
So I think when supply drastically increases and prices drop, this was their way of adjusting to meet that supply where it is and make more money. And in the process, made it much more accessible to lower income communities who didn't have access to the healthcare that the rich people had to get clean or get off of it or, manage it better.
Right. But conveniently.
Okay. Oh my gosh. Okay.
All right. If I were to orchestrate this, that's exactly the narrative that I would go for. And at the same time, you see the federal government, because of Nancy Reagan being quote unquote Nancy Reagan's input, is then stages a war cracking down on illicit drugs.
Oh my goodness.
And you see a at least correlated rise in drug arrests, drug crimes, drug-related illnesses. I'm not going to go as far as to say that the AIDS epidemic was introduced by the government, but coincidentally, at the same time.
Oh boy.
That might be going a little too far into the deep end, even for me. But I definitely think that there is, at best, or at the least, I think that there is some pretty solid evidence and reason to be skeptical of the Reagan administration in regard to the crack epidemic.
I think if you're going to choose any reason to be skeptical of the Reagan administration, there are a lot of reasons. As someone who likes Ronald Reagan,
that's not untrue, but I'm interested to hear what your reason is.
I think spending is a big one. But of all the things to be critical of Ronald Reagan, and again, I'm a Ronald Reagan fan. I love his presidency, and I think too many people dog on him for things that he probably wasn't responsible for, or blame him for things.
Not enough people dog on him for things that he very much was responsible for.
I gathered that because you're blaming him solely for the crack epidemic.
No, not him solely. Not solely. I don't think that Ronald Reagan himself would have been aware of this plan. I think when I say the Ronald Reagan administration, I'm not actually talking about Ronald Reagan himself. I'm talking about the people that he had down the ladder. Primarily the people who were in charge of the CIA and the FBI and the NSA, law enforcement agencies.
I think it's ridiculous. All right, but let's move on because we're running short on time.
We got one more.
So you just did a political one. So I could do a political one, or I could do a cryptid one.
That's gonna be your choice. Last one you did was on aliens.
Yeah, but this is more like not extraterrestrial.
Okay. Is it Bigfoot?
It's Bigfoot. Bigfoot's real, man. The conspiracy theory I'm going to say, and you can tell me whether or not I believe in it, is Bigfoot is real. And it's not just Bigfoot, all right? It is ghosts. It is haunted locations.
Okay.
It is like the swamp monsters. Like, what is it called? The Florida one.
The
Swamp
creature
ape?
from the Black Lagoon?
No. Florida. Bigfoot.
Oh yeah, I think it's swamp ape.
Swamp ape, yeah. Swamp ape, yeah. Yeti, yeah.
I have to say
ape.
no.
It's skunk ape.
Skunk ape. That's right. I have to say no. There's no way I can think that you actually believe in these. But I think that you're really tempted to say yes because I'm so sure. Do I get extra points if I'm right on that second point?
I do believe in these things.
No.
Yes.
Cameron. Do you understand how well traversed even the most backcountry place is?
Yes, but do you also realize just how thick a lot of this wilderness is in the mountains? Like, we're always finding new species, and not all of them are small.
Not megafauna.
Yes, sometimes we are. We just found new elephants or something like that.
We did not find new elephants in North America.
Okay, not North America.
No. If there was a species of megafauna, even if it was just one individual, the amount of resources that that size creature would need to consume could not go unnoticed.
So let me be more specific.
Especially when there's so many people looking for that. Oh.
There you go.
Am I good now?
No, you're good. You're good now. I gotcha.
Okay.
So let me be clear. I'm not going to specifically say that there is like a Bigfoot herd somewhere that we're not seeing. Like I'm not going to sit here.
That. I think you think there's one solitary Bigfoot or like at least one solitary mating pair.
No. So when I say that I believe in these things, I believe in the possibility of them being more plausible than let's just shut this down and deny it. In the sense that I do not think there is compelling enough evidence to say definitively there is Bigfoot. But I also don't think there is compelling enough evidence to say there is not Bigfoot.
Well, but that's kind of the thing about science is, like, when you write a scientific paper, you start off with a hypothesis, which is like what you think the result is going to be. But when you get to the end of it, no matter how convincing of evidence you have, what you say at the end of it is either I have proven that this is not true, or I have failed to not prove. You can never, like, essentially prove anything outright, because there always has to be room for contradiction if more information comes up.
Sure. However,
and so
go ahead. Go ahead.
Well, yeah, no, you go ahead, because I was basically finished.
Okay. We have found megafauna in relatively recent history.
Sure. Not
in
to the
2004. In Bigfoot. 2004, we discovered a whole new species of zebra. Right. In 1993, we discovered a saola, which is like a goat antelope thing in Vietnam, right?
Okay.
The okapi was thought to be a mythical creature in the Congo until we finally found one.
In like 1908.
Okay, still, right? I mean,
but
okay.
Since then, I mean, yes, we can find new
since
fauna.
2000,
Megafauna,
since 2000, at least 25 new species of primate have been described. 16 lemurs, 9 monkeys.
But most of those are just species that are being differentiated from other species. It's not like we've walked into the jungle and found a 6'5" walking sentient ape that nobody has ever come across before.
I mean, some of them are whales. Some of them are ungulates. Some of them are carnivores.
Are those completely new species, or are we just deciding? Here's the problem. The problem is with taxonomy.
Sure.
The way that we differentiate species is not, there's not a consensus. Some of it can be by genetics. Some of it is by characteristics. Some of it
genotype
is
versus phenotype.
Yeah,
sometimes.
Genotype versus phenotype versus, I mean, you could go into like whether or not they can produce a viable offspring. I mean, there's dozens of ways that we can differentiate a species, and a lot of like the new speciation and the recognition of a new species relies on varying methods, but also incorporates varying different methods. So a lot of the new species that we're finding, at least of terrestrial species, are just us kind of recognizing that, hey, this thing that we thought was just kind of like a subspecies or like just a weird cousin of the species actually is itself its own species.
Okay, but at the same time, some animals we will go hundreds of years without seeing, and then they will finally appear again. So I think it's, I mean, and they're not small, like the Sumatran rhino, right? That's a 1,700 pound animal that we will go years and years and years without seeing. Right. And I mean, okay. Did you've hiked, you've camped. Have you ever run into wild pigs in the mountains of Oregon and Washington?
No, I don't think I've ever really gone that far east. I'm mostly on the like west side of the. But they exist,
Cascades. And that's what's crazy. Yeah. Like I didn't know that they were out there until I watched Rambo, and I was like, no, there's no way. I went all over those mountains. There's no pigs out there.
No, especially in the last 20 years, they've become a total menace.
Right. So I mean, I'm not going to sit here and specifically say yes, I believe Bigfoot exists, but I would not be surprised if a lot of these animals are just very good at staying away from people.
Sure. I would put more credence into the Yeti in the Himalayas. But what I would totally not discount though, is cryptids in the ocean. Now, it's not like, I'm sure you've heard the thing of like, we know more about the like surface of the moon than we do about the ocean, or whatever that saying is people say. That's actually not true.
Mm-hmm.
But we still know frighteningly little about the ocean, and we're finding new species there all the time, especially of megafauna. We just I think back when you and I were kids, like the giant squid was still kind of a myth, and now we've found like the mega squid, or the Goliath squid, I think is what it's called.
Right. So, but you also got to remember, my comments weren't just about megafauna. They were also things like ghosts. I think ghosts are real. 100%.
Yes, okay. Ghosts. Ooh.
But what I don't think is that it's a whole unfinished business or anything like that. I don't think it's that. Okay. What I think it is, and this is coming like partially from a religious belief, I think that, there's an afterlife, and I think that there is a barrier between the world we live in and the world that spirits live in or reside in. And I think sometimes, and in some places, that barrier might be thinner or thicker.
Right.
I think if you're going to stand here and say that some people receive modern day revelation from God, that it's not a very long jump to say ghosts are also real. Right? If you're going to say the Pope receives revelation, if you're going to say the prophet of the LDS Church or the RLDS Church receives revelation from God on how to guide humanity.
Church.
Right. So, but you're not, I don't think it's that far of a step to say, well, if God can intentionally talk to people, what I think maybe paranormal activity might be the equivalent of like spiritual butt dialing.
I honestly, I don't disagree with that at all. Even if you take like the religious aspect of it, of like God speaking with prophets, there are several different versions of is Exodus where Moses receives the 10 Commandments?
Yes, Exodus chapter 20.
Yes,
chapter
so there's
10.
Several. But either way, Exodus. There's several different accounts of
20.
how Moses received the 10 Commandments.
Sure.
Some say that it was directly from God. Some say it was an angel. Some say that it was just, purely like inspiration, without any direct like contact. I will say there is one account that has made me not discount the existence of ghosts. I very much don't want to believe in ghosts. Everything like within my core tells me that no, ghosts are not real. That's ridiculous. But the house that my dad lives in, he has owned for the last like 32 years. He's the second owner of it. This house. It's the greenhouse on Thurston. He's the second owner. The original owner is the guy who built it. His name is Frank Rennie. And he built it in, I think, 1946, 1948. And one day when my sister and I were kids, my sister had a flu and she got really sick, and she was sitting in the living room, and suddenly she was looking like an old man came up to the window, and he was wearing like a green bucket hat, and he looked like into the window and then went off to the side towards these like petunias. I think it was a bush or something over near there. And my sister lost sight of him. So she goes outside to find my dad, who's, this house is on like an acre of land, which within, the Thurston neighborhood is a fairly sizable piece of property. And he was on a completely different part of the property. And my sister goes out to find him. And she says, hey, this old guy was looking into our window. And it's in a yard that's fenced off.
Yeah.
So, like, you have to go around the house to actually get into this yard. And my sister starts describing him to my dad. And suddenly my dad, like, kind of goes white. And he goes inside and he goes through, because he's the second owner of this house, he kind of inherited a lot of like Frank's stuff.
Sure.
And so he pulls out like a bunch of old pictures and stuff that Frank had, and he pulls out a picture and shows it to my sister and says, is this the guy that you saw? And it was an old man in like a green bucket hat wearing the same exact stuff that she had already described it to him. This is not him showing it to her and being like, is this what you saw? And her being like, yeah, and confirming it after the fact. And he asks, where did you see him? And she points out the window to the specific spot. And my dad says, he died having a heart attack while trimming those bushes, those petunias.
That's crazy.
And my sister swears by it to this day. She's the most pragmatic person I've ever met. She's an engineer. She's a lawyer, like very scientifically minded, very skeptical. And she swears that she can't explain it to this day.
That's crazy.
So I think more, if I do believe in ghosts, which I don't know if I do, I think what it is that the soul may actually be a tangible thing.
Oh, yeah.
Maybe not, maybe tangible is the wrong word, but
I think
as
so.
close to tangible as we can, get to. And that some part of that does linger around.
Or can.
Yeah, has the potential to linger around.
And if you take like maybe the Judeo-Christian aspects of it out, it might just be like an energy signature that is left, or something like that, like radioactivity.
Thermodynamics.
Right.
Matter can neither be created nor destroyed. It can only be converted from matter to energy or back.
See, and here's what I like about what is more convincing to me about paranormal, specifically with ghosts and stuff, is that it's never, I know a guy who knows a guy. It's either I know a guy or it happened to me.
Yeah.
Right. That I think lends a little bit more credence. It's my sister, my brother, my cousin. It's never like, oh yeah, I had a college roommate who told me his dad once. It's happened to me, happened to a family member, happened to a close friend.
I mean, how many stories start out with, oh yeah, my college roommate's dad? Like, how many stories start that way anyway?
But how many of these stories also start out with, yeah, one time when I was living in Central America?
Tons of them. Most stories.
But it's like
when people travel abroad, they love to tell you about it.
Oh, yeah, that's fair. But okay. But what I mean, like, is, okay, so I know a lot of people who were like missionaries in Central and South America, where a lot of these people have combined their Catholic beliefs and also with like Native American beliefs. And some of those practices,
by design of the Catholic Church.
Right. And some of those practices are great. That's where we get Dia de los Muertos. You know, it's an amazing celebration of life. But some of those celebrations,
Guadalupe,
right,
were half the saints.
But some of those also turned into, allegedly, I'm going to say, because I have never witnessed them. This is coming to me from people who have witnessed them, have also turned into like sketchy things. Or you could argue some people experiment and are like, hey, I grew up Catholic. I'm going to experiment with this sort of thing. Like, I know people who have had to go to houses and were like, there's some weird, crazy thing here, and we've been asked by the family to come exorcise the house, kind of stuff. Like,
yeah.
I have never experienced
some bad juju.
Yeah, and I know people who have seen chairs move. I know people who have had like doors get slammed. I have
at best heard knocking. Again, in my dad's house when I was growing up, I heard knocking and like a roller, like wheels from like casters going over the hardwood floor. And it was in an area of the house where previously Frank, the previous owner, I think it had like his mother living with him, and she used a wheelchair.
Okay.
And would slam into this one specific like the molding on the door going to her room, which ended up being my sister's room, which is where I would hear these. But that's the closest I've ever come to having my own spiritual experience.
Yeah, I don't think I've got anything even like that close to me. But like family members and people who I respect, like I would believe what they say 100%.
Sure.
I know people who have. And okay, we got to cut it. We're at a long. Why don't you do the outro and then I will do a fun fact.
Okay. Well, I think that's where we're gonna end it.
Yeah, we got to cut it off somewhere. There's no segue. There's no taper off with this because we're just gonna keep going. We got to just cut it.
Yeah, unfortunately. Well, first of all, thank you to everyone who is listening, and please like, share, subscribe, all that stuff to help us reach more people. Thank you to Halcyon Club for letting us use their song "This Life is Tough But Fair" from their EP Headset Emotions. And Cameron, you have a fun fact for us.
Yes, my fun fact is that I was one. This portion of the Agreeable Disagreements podcast has been censored by the FBI, CIA, NDA, NEA, EPA, and DEA. Also, the Bureau of Tobacco, Alcohol, and Firearms.